Hi, it's Lester Martin from Starburst Academy again, and we're going to keep going. We're up to lab number 2. We're going to focus on the landing zones data set itself. So hopefully you've already done lab 1 and seen the intro and those good stuff. If not, check the video notes for links to kind of get you caught back up to where we are. All right, in the lab guide that you'll have access to from going to the blog post, the PDF, I'll leave the lab on the left again, like I did last time, and pretty much try to walk everything here on the right. So let me scoot everything over a teeny bit for us. Okay. What we should have done is that previous lab, we have Galaxy up and running. We got our 2 data catalogs set up, and really want to just make sure that we identify the land zone. And as we said in the intro, we have 2 tables that exist in Postgres, and then we're going to build a 3rd table off of some CSV data out in the data lake. So step 1 is just to make sure our cluster is running. It says hit clusters and dbt is running. If not, there will be a button right here under action called resume, like you see there. So we're in good shape. We're off and running. We can click query editor, all that good stuff. So query editor, and we can open a new one with the plus, but here's a blank one. We'll just run with that already all set up. And what it's really saying here is let's click up here on top. There's a magnifying bar. And what we want to type when I click on that is Jaffle. So if I click here and say Jaffle, so we want to see if there's anything out there for our Jaffle shop. Those are good results. I see some Postgres stuff all the way probably from a schema down to some specific tables. It's kind of what we see here. So it says, why don't you just go ahead and hit view all at the bottom. So view all the results. We'll go to the results page itself. Now I'm going to push this hamburger bar aside to give ourselves a little more room to play with. So in the search results, we're looking for an entry, probably the first one that says dbt Jaffle shop in the lower corner. dbt Postgres Jaffle shop in the lower corner. That's it. That's the one we're talking about. That's the whole schema. And from that, we want to hit open details. The open details is going to be as you see it over there in the upper right-hand corner. And, it'll take us to the catalog UI. So let's go here. Let's hit open details. So global search found us some data pretty quick. And this routes us to basically a list of the schema and a list of tables in there. So it's going to, I think we're going to click on the customers table that we see down here. So here's the schema. Here's some tables, customer. And then from there, hopefully we're seeing that we can see a list of columns. So we're just exploring this data from the metadata right now. We haven't actually queried anything, and that's okay. This looks good. It's a simple customer data set. Maybe things do or don't make sense in varchars always, but that's what we have right now. And then we can simply hit this dot up here at the tippity top. That's what they're telling us to do. And then from there should be a query data pop up. All right, query data. Now this should take us straight to the query editor, and if all goes well, it selected the cluster we're on, as well as the schema and table we're at, and gave us a chance to run. So we just say, hey, what came up? Why don't you go ahead and just hit run? It says in the middle, expand it, look around. So I went ahead and ran that. I ran a query, not that we're supposed to, but that's no big deal. Here are those 2 data sets, customers and orders, that we can kind of glance at, which is really what they're asking us to explore. And then it says, run those 2 queries. Now we just ran one of them, but we'll go ahead and put them as copy and pasted, make sure everything's good there. Now I'm going to highlight both of those and run them both. And if you're not used to this GUI is just going to run one at a time. So there's the first results, and there's the second results. That's what we see on the right. Yep, good stuff. Customers and orders. All right, so that's our first 2 data sets in our landing zone. And if you notice, we're just going to let that landing zone be kind of logical and say, hey, that data already exists in Postgres in its raw format. Do I need to copy it and bring it over? I could ingest it just as it is and drop it, but I could also say, no need to move it. It's there, and it's maintained and all that good stuff. So I'm going to leave it like that. Now I'm going to start thinking about the other data set that I know about. we don't have access to go look. You won't have access to go look at this Amazon S3 bucket and any folders and that kind of stuff. But there is in this bucket called Quick Start. It has a DBT Quick Start folder, and in there's another folder called Stripe Payments. And someone told us, hey, go look in there and you'll get some payment information, things that link back to the order itself. So what we're going to do, instead of normally, you can go download the files and look at it and try to make decisions, let's just simply use a thing called Schema Discovery to see if it can sort it out for us. So let's do this. It says navigate over to Catalogs. So open this back up. Catalogs. And in the far right pane with View Catalogs, click on DBT Quick Start in the list of catalogs below the Create Catalog button. DBT Quick Start. There we go. And what we want to do is we want to go to the tab, because we don't have anything in here. This schema has no tables or anything at this point. Or this schema just has an info schema. It doesn't have a lot. So let's say Schema Discovery as it says. And we're going to hit this Run Schema Discovery button. Now here we have to just kind of point it to something. So we're going to point it to that location that our good friend said, hey, there's some payment data over here in this location. So we'll paste that in there. And from there, if we look closely, there's our location privilege that we couldn't do in the earlier one. So we're learning way too much. So let's do ourselves a favor. Let's go ahead and fill in land Jaffle Shop, because that's the schema name that we want to call it. And then I'm going to go ahead and adjust the notes right quick in the screenshot to say, hey, let's pick up this add location privilege before I hit the screenshot here. So I'm going to pause for just a second. All right, not sure if I deleted out the struggles I had in the previous lab with changes, but this is one of those permissions that we were trying to set. I said it probably is already set, and now it's telling us we probably need to set it. So I will likely just leave it out of phase one, lab one, and leave it right here in lab 2 with a note that says, hey, this is going to show up checked, and just leave it checked. All right, I went ahead and hit Run Discovery as suggested. It showed us a little bit of a scanning activity while that was going on. And then it says once it completes, we should see something like this. It says toggle open the land Jaffle Shop schema. And we really just pointed it to one location. If we pointed it at a higher directory and there was multiple folders, it would have looked in all of them, and it may have found a whole bunch of different tables. I purposely just targeted it to these Stripe payments. So we're going to check the checkbox right next to the table found, and then obviously that's all of them, so it just checks them all. And then we'll hit the Create All Tables button. That should offer this log events page, and the log events page, when finished, and it's already done, is going to show us that, hey, I created a schema. Well, it's actually still running on the first of 2. So he created a schema, and then he's going to create a table. And our notes tell us to just take a look at the create table. And here's the table that got created, Stripe Payments. You'll notice, it did a pretty good job of picking out dates and numbers and that kind of stuff. That's good stuff. It chose the Hive format, text file, so on and so forth. And it just marked it an external table pointing to where we found it. So that all looks pretty good. So that's what this lab had us do. Look at the create table. There's some mention here about didn't pick the CSV file format type, if you're familiar with that. And to be honest, it did it because the CSV only lets you have varchars, and this tool is a little bit smarter than that, so it helped us out. So we closed it out, and then ultimately we can close here our button on the log events. And at this point, we want to return back to the query editor. So query editor over here. And let's expand open that land Jaffle Shop schema that was just created. So that's under here on DBT Quick Start. I'll collapse the Postgres. There's that schema that was created as part of that schema discovery. And remember what I said, we only targeted and found one table. There's our Stripe payments table. There's the fields that we saw. All looks pretty good there. And what we'll do is just run a quick query on that. If you're using the tool a lot, you can just hover over this vertical ellipses, click on it, and there's a select star. We'll run that. I will call out real quickly, normally I don't love these quotes, but they actually work out nicely when people do some things like a dash, maybe a space or something. So the dash instead of an underscore causes some grief. If that wasn't wrapped in quotes, that's something we'll fix in our structure layer to make sure we impose our corporate standards on our structure zone, etc. So all right, we were able to query it. That's good news. Looks like data is in there as first quick glance. We might as well use our data quality kind of tools and see what we can get out of there. So I'm going to navigate back to catalogs and then pick on the quick start catalog. So this is catalogs. There's our quick start catalog we talked about. I think we're going to drill into the land Jaffle schema and the Stripe payments table. Land Jaffle schema. Within that schema, again, we only have one table, Stripe payments, and we're looking at the tag over here, or the tab called quality now. So I'm going to click on quality, and quality says, I think I put something like this. Maybe I did or didn't. Yeah, it says you'll have to pick a cluster to show some statistics and profile statistics. The only one we have really is a DBT one. I'll say hit me some profile stats, and I'll scroll down as soon as that lets me. I guess my taskbar showed up. That's the problem. All right, so taking a moment to calculate. Let me just pause in case it's already done. That's good news. And really all we're going to look at is just some high-level details. Not a lot of records in here, and then just basic statistics is really what we're kind of glancing at here. Data types, nulls, not nulls, mins and maxes. And we can look at this and say, yeah, that's fair. These are kind of the data that we're looking for here. These make a little bit of sense, and the min and maxes again make a lot more sense when it's a number or date. There's positive amounts. These are the date ranges that made sense for this data set, and so on and so on and so forth. All right, so we can say looks pretty good. For those that want to experiment, there's also a whole section called applied rules, but I'll let that be some self-experimentation. All right, that's it for lab number 2. Let's push on and work on lab number 3.